everyone, I'm Mine, and this is set number 75573, Floating Mountains, Site 26, and RDA Samson from the LEGO Avatar theme. This set contains 887 pieces, 5 minifigures, and will retail for $99.99 in the US. This set does not officially come out until October 1st, 2022, but it was sent to me early by the LEGO group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. Now here is the first build in the set, Site 26, and I think this is translated pretty well for the movies, however it is like half the size it's supposed to be, because if I remember correctly from the movie, there was like 2 of these connected together, and that's what Site 26 was. So it definitely should be larger. You could buy 2 of the set to expand it if you wanted, but I would have preferred if you got the full thing here. That aside though, I feel like they captured the shape really well. I love all the printed parts, like the different texturing used. These little brown pieces for the base too also look really nice. And I like that it looks good from every angle. They like really considered using this as a display piece, which I appreciate. There of course is the ramp at the front for the characters to get in. Then there's a little keypad and a door that opens up. And that's how the minifigures can actually walk inside. However, if you want to actually access the interior, you can pop the roof piece off like this. That's actually not connected at all, it just sort of sits in place, and it slides out super smoothly. There's lots of sets that do this, like where the roof comes off, especially in like LEGO Minecraft, but this is one of the smoothest ones I've seen. I actually really like how that's done. And with that removed, you can see here's the entrance behind the door. Quite a bit of room to post figures here, so I guess if you want to have the entire crew in here, you can. That's actually appreciated. A lot of times they try to stuff these things with like lots of accessories and whatnot, so it's cool to see they actually just put room for minifigures this time around. On the one side, there's a little diagnostics panel right here, that's a stickered part, and then there's a swivel chair out in front of it. That's a simple little thing, but I think that's a lot of fun just to move that all around. Then on the other side is the little tank for Jake Sully to transform into his avatar. There's another stickered part which shows Jake's face while he's in the tank. There's a printed control panel piece on the side, and then the tank itself is just a door which can open up, and there's room to put a minifigure inside. So if you want to slide Jake in there, you can. Close it back up around him, and there you go. Now you can imagine he's in there controlling his avatar. You got a few nice windows you can look out on the sides. There's an antenna coming out the top. But other than that, it's pretty much just a gray building. It's a very well-designed gray building. I think the texture's done super well. It's pretty much a perfect translation of this like build from the movie, but I just don't have a ton to say about it. I am very happy with it though. I think it makes a great display piece, and it's actually pretty fun to play with too. So I think the designers did a fantastic job here. Next in the set, we have the helicopter build. And once again, just like Site 26, I was fairly impressed by it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of just like military-style vehicles, so while this isn't my favorite LEGO set of all time by any means, I think this is, again, really well put together. The windshield piece is awesome. Now, this is a printed part, and you can see it uses silver and blue printing. That reminds me of, like, the windshields they do for Speed Champions sometimes, so it's super cool to see it on a helicopter here. I'm not sure if the actual shape of that windshield is new for this set. I personally don't recognize it, but it may not be new. If anybody knows where else that piece has been used, let me know in the comments. Or if it is new, let me know that, too. But that can pop open to gain access to the seating on the interior, and that's where you can have a pilot minifigure sit, and maybe a second minifigure sit behind her. On the sides, there's these little stickered tiger logos, as well as stud shooters that shoot out yellow studs. Of course, same thing on the other side. The actual body of the plane is very open, but that's so that you can easily have minifigures hanging out the sides, because the Avatar figures are super tall, so they kind of have to be hanging out to fit. Aside from the tail, they can actually sit down in the helicopter, which is interesting. But yeah, no, this openness makes sense, especially again comparing it to the movie. This was very open in the movie, and they were hanging out of it there, so it makes sense for that to be translated into the LEGO form. And of course, same thing on the other side. You could definitely fit all 4 characters in here, though, if you wanted. And I think that's something that should be appreciated. The like landing gear here, I don't know, is alright. They just use Tectic parts. Can't say I'm the biggest fan of that, especially the way they just sort of curve up at the front, but it's not the biggest deal and it's functional, so I can't really complain. There's also these 2 bits at the top right here, it's gonna hinge back. Not sure if that's accurate to anything in the movie, I don't remember that in the movie, but if anybody knows, let me know in the comments. Oh, also, the design on these sticker parts is really cool too. I love how that all comes together. Propellers at the sides are very wacky and sci-fi-esque. They're on these large round pieces which can be rotated, and then the actual propellers can also be rotated. So you can move those around to, I guess, imagine changing the angles that the helicopter is flying at. And then the tail at the back is very sleek. I like how they use these tailed pieces on the sides. And the little wings at the back are nice too, and those can be hinged up or down. Yeah, that's about it for the helicopter. Not the most amazing build of all time, but I think it's fairly solid. Lots of cool parts used, and I think that windshield is by far the highlight. And then the final build in this set is a little bit of terrain, so let's take a look at it up a little bit closer. You've got a clip and bar on the side so this can connect to the terrain builds in other sets. A couple just like little standard flowers. Lots of different rocky bits climbing up to this transparent bar right here. The coolest part about this terrain build though is, in my opinion, these little flowering magenta parts coming up right here. Those are really cool. They use trans pink discs into the large magenta disc at the top. And then they've got this new foliage piece coming out the very peak. That's a very cool new part. And that does come in, I believe, every set this wave, but still very cool to get. And then moving up this transparent bar, we have what is supposed to be a floating island up here. Now the actual island itself is very simple, just some room to hold figures if you want. However, I do like what's hanging down, like this brown vine right here, and especially like this large like rubber tube piece that comes all the way back down to the bottom. That's a very cool way to connect the floating island with like the base on the ground. Really wish there was maybe a little bit more terrain back here because the back does look pretty bad, but obviously you don't have to display this at that angle if you don't want. Plenty of LEGO sets don't look good from the back. It's always better when they do, but it's not a necessity. But anyway, the entire point of why the top of this is so plain is because this is meant to be a place to display the helicopter. So the helicopter has these little technicals on the sides, so you can connect those with this Technic pin right here, and there you go. Now you have the helicopter landing on the floating island, which is really great for display. I love when sets have things like this, like ways to display the vehicles, and I think the designers did a fantastic job with this one too. I'm pretty happy with it. But I think that's about it for the builds of this set, so now let's move on to the minifigures, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. Oh, actually, real quick, one last thing. Those new flowering pieces, they're glow in the dark. So obviously always very cool to see. So here are the first two minifigures in the set. We have Jake Sully and we have Dr. Grace Augustine. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Na'vi figures in these sets. The human minifigures are surprisingly all pretty fantastic. Now, Jake here is a face print which I don't recognize and I believe is all new, though I could be wrong about that. And then he has like Jay's original hairpiece in brown. Now, comparing him to his look in the movie, this isn't super accurate, but in terms of just like good parts to use for customs, I really like that. His torso is just a gray shirt with a picture of the helicopter in the set on it. I think that actually looks pretty nice. But the best part about this figure by far is the all-new wheelchair piece. This is a yellow wheelchair, and I believe these are all new wheel pieces that attach to the sides. And it's very similar to the previous one, but just slightly different. But I honestly think this looks really good, and obviously it's always great to see more disability representation in LEGO. So having more ways to get wheelchair pieces is awesome, and having more variety in what they look like is really great as well. There's how that looks with Jake removed. You can see it's pretty much built on top of just like a classic LEGO chair piece. And there's handles at the back for like another minifigure to push it. There's how Jake looks though without the wheelchair, so you can see his full leg print, which is nothing, just no leg printing there. And turning him around, there's his back torso print where you just see his shoulder blades, and his alternate face where he's got like his mask on so that he can breathe on Pandora. That's actually a pretty good face printing that works pretty well. Then Grace Augustine, it might be up there in my favorite figures of this year, which is something I never expected to say about a LEGO Avatar figure. But no, I didn't bat an eye at this figure when official pictures came out, but having it in hand, this is like really, really good. So this hairpiece is nothing new, but it fits her pretty well, especially comparing her to her design in the movie. Really great face print. I believe that is also all new. Really great whenever we get new face prints. I love the expression too. It's like a somewhat neutral expression, but she's got like her cheekbones and everything. Really great torso design as well with like her necklaces. The folds in her shirt and everything just give her a lot of life. It makes the print feel less flat. And turning her around, you can see her back torso print where it's very much the same thing. However, the highlight of this minifigure surprisingly is the leg printing. Now the legs are dual molded, which is unexpected, but then they also have a wraparound leg printing as well. You can see she's got a little belt on the hips, pockets coming down, and she's supposed to be wearing shorts with shoes on, so you have a little bit of skin printing right there that shows, and then the tops of her socks coming out of her shoes. That is so well designed. I would love to see that kind of printing on more figures, and I feel like those legs are going to be really useful for customs and whatnot, because not only do they fit her really well, but they're just a great print. Taking her hairpiece off, there you can see the full face print, and then turning her around, you can see she also has a mask to help her breathe. But yeah, off to a good start. Two really great minifigures. Obviously, it would be better if Jake had leg printing, but considering he's meant to be in a wheelchair most of the time, it makes sense that he doesn't. The next minifigure in the set, we have Trudy, and she is yet another fantastic one. She uses the all-new skin tone, which was introduced earlier this year, which it's great to see that's coming on more figures. I believe this is the first female figure to use that skin tone, which is great. Really great face print too, with like the glasses and like the little microphone, because she's meant to be the pilot of the helicopter in this set. Her torso print's pretty well designed too. The only thing is, it looks like that skin printing there is printed on a little bit too dark, which is the opposite of the problem that LEGO usually has. Usually they print too light, but it's not a huge deal. It kind of makes me wonder though if she was originally supposed to have a darker skin tone, because Avatar 2 was obviously delayed a lot. So maybe this figure was originally designed like years ago when Avatar 2 was supposed to come out, and she was meant to have the darker skin tone because the later one had not been introduced yet. But when they updated the figure for 2022, maybe they forgot to change that printing there. I don't know, that's pure speculation from my part, but I think it's interesting to think about. No leg printing on her, but I think it actually works for her, so it's not a huge deal. Would have been nice to get some like pockets maybe, but I don't mind it too much. And the olive green is a really cool color for pants. Standard just like a ponytail piece around the back. And then there's her back torso print as well as her alternate face. Really great alternate face, again, super useful for customs. I feel like you can make a lot of custom characters using that face. So yeah, yet another figure that I am super happy with. And then the final two minifigures in the set are the two Avatar figures of the set, which are Jake Sully and Norm Spellman. This version of Jake is pretty good. I think this is one of the better versions of Jake. Very generic Avatar design when it comes to the torso and face and legs and everything, but it still does look good. He uses the same leg printing that a lot of the other ones use, just like this little brown rope design going around his torso, and then he's got these orange face markings. I really like the expression on this one too. I feel like it's full of a lot of personality. I do find the Avatar figures in general just very uncanny, though I go into more detail about that in my review of the, what was it called, the Tree of Souls. So if you want to hear my full thoughts of just the figures as a whole, go check out that review. But in terms of Avatar figures, I think this is a pretty solid one. Then for Norm, I think he's pretty good as well. Now he's the only Avatar figure to not be wearing just like traditional Na'vi clothes. He's in more human clothes, so he has the long legs and dark tan. Now for all you customizers out there, that is Groot color, so go wild, I guess. I'm very nervous about how customs are going to look now that these long legs are back, but we will see, won't we? This figure, though, again, I think is pretty good. I feel like they captured Norm's personality pretty well in that face print, and his torso print is simple but pretty good and accurate to the movie. And then turning both these guys around, you can see they both use the same hairpiece. There's only 2 hairpieces in these Avatar sets, and this is the quote-unquote male hairpiece, so they both use it here. Taking the hairpieces off, though, there you can see the back torso prints. Norm's, once again, very simple, but Jake has this metallic silver printing, which does actually look pretty nice. So honestly, like both of these guys, my one complaint with them is I just wish there was one more. Because this figure feels like it's desperately missing 2 figures. I wish we got an Avatar form of Grace Augustine because she's a pretty significant character in the movie. And in fact, I think Grace's Avatar is more significant than Norm's Avatar, so I'm not sure why we got him but not her. And then on the other end of that, I wish we got a human version of Norm to go with his Avatar form. So that way all the characters in this set that have avatars would come with both their Avatar and human form, not just Jake. So especially with $100 that LEGO's charging for this set, they could have thrown in 2 more figures. But that's the figures we didn't get. As for the ones we did get, I think they're fairly solid. And then finally, it's not a minifigure, but the set also comes with a Direhorse. And I also went over this guy in my Tree of Souls review, but in short, I think they're really interesting, especially with like the gills right there, the very interestingly shaped head. And then he's got the 2 tentacle pieces coming out the side that you can attach to a Na'vi figure. If you remove the center section right here, take the tentacle pieces off, you can attach Norm or Jake on the horse's back and connect one of these 2 tentacle pieces to the back of their hair. Now, it can be kind of a tough fit sometimes because the tentacle pieces are not very long, but you can make it work so that way the figure is able to ride the horse. I think the horse mold is genuinely really good though. 6 legs look great. I like all the texture on it, the printing too. It's a really fun creature design in the movies and it's translated pretty well into LEGO. So, no complaints from me. They're also like deceptively big. These guys are really large. Far bigger than normal LEGO horses. And so, what are my overall thoughts on this set? I honestly think this set's pretty solid all around. Personally, not necessarily for me. The actual like home base build I really like, but the helicopter build, while it's pretty good, it's not necessarily for me. And again, it comes down to the price of this set. $100 is a little ridiculous. $80 would be alright for it, and $100 would be more justifiable if it came with more minifigures. But yeah, as it stands, I don't recommend this one not on sale. On sale, yeah, sure, pick it up if you're interested in it. Definitely not for everybody by any means, but it's pretty solid for what it is. I would say though, the base is really the only part of the set that I think is exceptional. The helicopter's good, and then the terrain is nice, but it's easily the worst terrain build of any of the sets. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please press like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do like videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!